The second night of action is now in the books for the 2019 Stanley Cup playoffs. The remaining three series are kicked off and have their first game now in the books. In today's video, we're going to recap all the action and discuss what to expect coming up in the next couple nights of hockey. And that's coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams, so if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So last night we had the remaining three series kick off in the Stanley Cup playoffs. All three games were very exciting to watch, had some very interesting outcomes as well. And let's get started here with the Toronto Maple Leafs doing battle with the Boston Bruins. Now, this was a very important game, but the Toronto Maple Leafs won with a score of 4-1. The Bruins were able to get off to an early lead, scoring their first goal of the game on the power play from Patrice Bergeron, but the Maple Leafs did not get down and were able to respond not too long after from a goal from Mitch Marner. I do think Mitch Marner was definitely the Leafs' best player. His creativity was a huge part of what allowed them to be successful last night. We also saw Mitch Marner score on a penalty shot while they were shorthanded, which is something that you rarely see in any time of hockey, especially in the playoffs. He was on a breakaway. Jake DeBrusk pulled him down, and he was awarded a penalty shot, which he scored on, and it was an absolutely filthy goal. This guy has an incredible stick handling ability. He stick handled many times in tight against Rask and beat him on the right side. It was an incredible goal. If you didn't get a chance to see that, I highly recommend you take a look at the highlights. Certainly one of the nicer goals you're going to see in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That put the Leafs up 2-1, and really for the remainder of the game, the Leafs held the lead and kept the Bruins off the score sheet from there. I know we often talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs blue line and probably being the weak point of their team and could be a turning point for the series. Can they handle the Bruins? Well, there certainly wasn't an issue last night, but in my opinion, the Bruins really didn't play their normal style of game. They kind of were off here a little bit, and it was the Bruins defense who really did not look good. I thought they looked really slow and awkward out there, weren't making a ton of plays. Chara especially stuck out to me as really not moving overly quick. He ended up taking a penalty at one point as well. It just didn't look real good. Like, they just were off their game, did not play your typical Bruins style of game that we were expecting, especially being on home ice. And we've seen another case like we did in the first night where the road team was able to go in probably with a little bit less pressure, a little bit looser, where they're not in front of their home fans, and then took that game and took it from the Bruins here and snatched home ice advantage away. So obviously it was a really good game for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But like I said, as much as they played well, the Bruins I thought really did not play well at all, didn't get away from their style. I would imagine they're going to likely make some changes for game two. Wouldn't be surprised to see veteran David Backes go back in. He's got a lot of experience, can certainly play a little bit more of a physical style of the game, which I think the Bruins are likely going to have to try to adapt here to. The Leafs were looking really quick last night, like I said, especially Marner. Nylander scored a goal as well, which was big for his confidence. So with all the speed they had going, all the creativity and the puck skills, the Bruins need to be able to slow down the Leafs and contain them here if they're going to stand a chance. Otherwise, their top line going against the Leafs D is not going to be the biggest storyline here in this series. So I expect the Bruins to make some changes and with their lineup here a little bit and come out stronger for game two, get their game plan a little bit more in order, and hopefully we'll have a closer affair here and see if they can get this tied up heading back to Toronto for games 3 and 4. Then we also saw another case of the Washington Capitals getting off to a terrific lead here. This game between the Caps and the Canes kind of reminded me a little bit of Columbus versus Tampa the other night in the first night of action, except we didn't quite have the same type of outcome. Washington did storm out to a 3-0 lead early in the first period, and Carolina did come back and make things very interesting. Nicholas Backstrom had 2 goals in the first period, including 1 on a power play, followed up by Alexander Ovechkin scoring a power play goal as well. Things looked to be well within control, but I must say the Carolina Hurricanes did certainly kind of keep the Capitals at bay, really limiting their shots on goal, and a couple of those were on the power play, so obviously the Canes got themselves into penalty trouble, which was also a big factor in that game as well. They did come back, make it interesting with Andrei Svechnikov scoring 2 nice goals for the Carolina Hurricanes to get it to 3-2, and unfortunately from there they could not get the game tied up. Lars Eller ended up adding an empty netter for the Capitals to pull out a 4-2 victory. But overall, I thought the goaltending in that game was relatively good. I mean, really, even though Mrazek gave up 3 before he was pulled, 2 of them being on the power play, I don't think you can fault him too much. And Holtby played relatively solid for the Capitals as well. The Hurricanes had the shots on goal advantage as well. So I really think if they can keep out of the box and keep that offensive momentum going that they gained here in the second and third periods, I do think they have the ability to take it to the Capitals and make this series a little bit more interesting. So obviously the Capitals, the defending champions, off to a good start here in the first game. Now the final game of the evening was certainly pretty exciting as well. It featured the Calgary Flames, the top team in the Western Conference, battling the Colorado Avalanche. And the Calgary Flames pulled out a shutout victory, beating the Avalanche by a score of 4-0. Mike Smith was the goaltender for Calgary. I know there was some question marks over would it be Smith or Riddick and who would kind of have a chance to run with the ball here. Coach Bill Peters obviously went with the veteran of Mike Smith and made a good choice. He played an amazing game last night. The Avalanche didn't have a real high number of shots on goal, but they had a lot of really high quality shots. So even though the shot totals were not out of this world, he had to make probably 10 to 12 really grade A stops, and he was up to the challenge and played one of the best games probably of his entire career. For sure that the crowd was chanting his name. The crowd was really into it. That Sea of Red in Calgary was a major force last night. They were able to shut down that the top players for the Avalanche between McKinnon and Landeskog, Rantanen, Tyson Barrie. They have a lot of offense on that team. Even their secondary players were kind of getting some chances, but Smith was able to close the door. I thought the Calgary Flames overall, though, as a team game, played a pretty solid game there as well. Matthew Tkachuk picked up a couple of goals, including the empty netter as well. So overall, a really solid game from the Flames. I thought their fourth line continued to be a big part of their success as well. Their bottom six certainly outperformed the Avalanche bottom six, like I said in the opener and the previews. That was going to be key. The Avalanche have struggled to get secondary scoring all year, and they would need that in order to have success in the playoffs. And not only did they not get the scoring last night from the secondary players, but they didn't get it from the primary players as well. But that was largely to running into a hot goaltender in Mike Smith. So whether or not he can keep up that play will obviously be a big factor here as well for the Flames and for that series. So stay tuned here as they head into Game 2. We'll see if the Avalanche can get themselves on the board and change the momentum in that series. Now that all 8 matchups have one game under their belts here, we're even at 4 wins for the home teams, 4 wins for the road teams. Now, a lot of these teams, too, had a lot of hatred starting to build by the end of that first game. We know in a battle of a 7-game series, oftentimes you see these teams really start to dislike each other as the series go on, and many of these teams are already starting to have that going on by the end of the first game, so it should be ramped up even more in Game 2. It'd be interesting to see if Tampa can bounce back against Columbus. It'd be certainly a lot of fun as well to watch the Winnipeg Jets and the St. Louis Blues. There was certainly a lot of bad blood starting to brew at the end of that game. Even the Pens and Islanders too. All kinds of great hockey going on tonight that you're going to want to stay tuned for, and all kinds of great action over the weekend here as well. So as always, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions on last night's game action down in the comment section. Let me know what you were most excited about and what was the highlights of the night for you in your opinion. So if you're new to the channel, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up as well if you enjoyed it. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and we will catch you next time.